Welcome into A to Z Sports Prime Time on this Thursday night, the last night of the primetime show from the Combine. The Combine continues, of course. We got defensive linemen earlier, linebackers now running 40s. We've got broad jumps, we've got wave drills, we've got all manner of good stuff, and we even have an issue to discuss as far as Abdul Carter and his injury situation, how it impacts the Titans, and of course, Cam Ward. You're going to hear from Greg Cosell, Abdul Carter, and Ian Rappaport, not about coffee, but about football. And we'll get to that throughout the course of the show. Need you guys to share the broadcast around before we get started, as is always the custom. You know the routine. At this point, Facebook Live, share now to public like Daniel Perez and Corey D. Jackson. I know they do. If you are on Twitter, retweet the show. It's in the bottom right. YouTube and Twitch, like the video, thumbs up. We like the thumbs up. Hit the thumbs up for the likes. We like the interaction. We like the engagement. We need the likes, as it will be the jet fuel that carries us into the draft season and into the sky on after, whether that be on the discussion of a quarterback or a pass rusher remains to be seen. But we're going to talk about both of those things tonight and work our way through it. James Strickland says, remember Caleb Farley? We don't need another one. Well, that was a back and an ACL and a player who'd never played that position really, or kind of had not really played that position. Not a similar situation at all. Not nearly as serious for Abdul Carter, but it can have major implications for him and for the draft as a result. Because for Caleb Farley, as Lane Eisenhagen brings up, Simmons worked out, trade with the Giants, and then draft Carter. And we will see how those things come to pass. It'll be an interesting discussion to be sure. But the wrinkle, of course, is the Abdul Carter update, which we will get to start the show. Welcome into A to Z Sports Prime Time from the remote Zen Sports Studios. I'm your host, Buck Rising, and I'm proud, as always, to be presented to you by the wonderful people at Two Rivers Ford. They made it possible for me to get to the Combine. They're going to make it possible for me to go home from the Combine tomorrow after we talk to the quarterbacks. By the way, we're going to talk to the quarterbacks, then do the radio show, then do a 615 sessions. Sam Phelan's going to do the podcast for the first time. So we'll look forward to that. And it's all made possible by Two Rivers Ford. Bart Durham Injury Law. You deserve to be paid, and Bart Durham and their team will make sure you get it done. Go to bartdurham.com for more information. By Zen Sports, where betting always gets better. Up to $100 on your no danger first wager at zensports.com. And of course, by TrueMav Fitness in the Gulch. I'm looking forward to going home because I haven't worked out all week and I need some physical activity that is not walking around the convention center, the Indiana Convention Center, on a daily basis. Though we are getting 10,000 steps, nothing can replace a TrueMav Fitness workout. TrueMavFitness.com for that first workout free. So the news last night, we did the primetime show and I went down to Bloomington and I caught a basketball game and I saw my basketball team win. And then I came back from Bloomington late last night and I got home at about 12:30 Eastern, about a 50-minute ride from Bloomington to Indianapolis. And in the midst of that drive, I saw a tweet from Adam Schefter. It was about quarter till midnight, I think, at that point in time. And it said that Abdul Carter, a potential option at the number 1 overall draft pick, of course, had a stress reaction in his foot, not a fracture, but a stress reaction that could potentially require a surgical procedure that would, of course, delay his return to the field because he's dealing with a shoulder injury from the college football playoff. He played through it. He was excellent. Not a concern there, just continuing to recover. Wasn't going to participate in the combine drills anyway. And then he underwent the medical testing and the stress reaction was caused. Now, it's turned out that he's not going to get the surgery. And we are going to hear from Ian Rappaport specific to that. But the question for you guys in the comment section on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and on Twitch, is Abdul Carter still worthy of the number 1 overall draft pick to you? In the comment section, if you would like to get involved. While you do that, I'll remind you that Two Rivers Ford makes the primetime show possible. The best place for you to get your next vehicle is Two Rivers Ford in Mount Juliet or online at tworiversford.com, the South's most trusted Ford dealer. They will put you in position to succeed. Make sure that you get the best car buying experience possible, fast, easy, and more fun at Two Rivers Ford. Also made possible by Zen Sports, promo code ATOZTN, is how you get in on all the action. Basketball, baseball, not too far away. Hockey, right now you can bet on with the Zen Sports promo code ATOZTN. Terms and conditions do apply. Must be 21 plus and in the state of Tennessee to bet at Zen Sports. So is Abdul Carter worthy of the number 1 overall draft pick still when you have the news of this unfortunate potential injury situation?
Rap sheet?
Thank you, Rich. Yeah, I would say I'm
He looks a little under-caffeinated, actually, to be honest.
No, I'm properly caffeinated. A lot of great coffee brands. Dunkin' does a really nice job.
Nice.
Peet's actually is a fantastic coffee. I could go on and on about the coffee brands that I love. That's not for right now. Let's talk right now about Abdul Carter, the Penn State stud edge, potential number 1 overall pick. Someone who said this week in his combine press availability that he believes he is the number 1 player in the draft. He is not going to work out this week. He actually, during medical testing here, had a stress reaction discovered in his foot. My understanding, it is a very small spot, something that is not given in pain. And when he's talked to doctors, he has told them that this is not something that hurts me. Surgery was considered to be a possibility, but Agent Drew Rosenhaus, who represents the players, said that they are not opting for surgery, believe it is not necessary. He is going to perform at his pro day and believes he will have no issues going forward.
Okay, so that is the latest on Abdul Carter. Not the worst situation in the world. Initially, I saw the report last night. I said, oh my God, disaster. Disaster specifically for him, right? Because you hate that. That's awful. The idea that he might potentially cost himself real money here. And you know, the difference between being the number 1 overall draft pick and the 5th pick in the NFL draft. Maybe it's not the biggest difference in the world, but it matters. And it matters a great deal to him. And he's worked hard for this opportunity. And for something that he didn't know necessarily was there and hasn't been bothering him, but could potentially lead to something down the line. It's just problematic at this particular time, but it doesn't seem that it's going to impact him for the long term, and certainly not by the time things get around to September. What is the first week of the NFL season? I think it's September 6th or 7th this year when the NFL kicks off. But even still, it does have potential implications, because do the Titans want to roll the dice with the number 1 overall pick? John Bopp says, not the worst, but the PTSD hit real hard. Yeah, Titans fans are particularly fragile when it comes to players and injuries here in the last couple of years, whether it be Caleb Farley. Obviously, we talked about Jeff Simmons. There's been a couple. Bud Dupree was somebody they spent a lot of money on, who was coming off an injury and never really got healthy until he very clearly got healthy with the Falcons, and then with the Chargers went on to be successful. But Tennessee, it kind of blew up in their face, paying high-priced free agent dollars for that. Clowney is another one of those. There's been some pretty glaring issues that led the Titans down this road. Julio Jones is something that it's not draft, right? Those are players in different points in their career, but still just taking risks on injured players at this particular point in time, not advisable. So it does have the potential to impact it. I would say that it should play a minor role. It should play a minor role because it's no longer a sure thing. And they're never a sure thing. It's never a no-doubter in the NFL draft, but this does complicate things. So Nick says he is worthy of the top pick, but I think we need to trade back for more draft capital either way. You have to have somebody who's willing to come up, and we'll see how that plays out, because apparently the Saints met with Cam Ward, and that's an interesting development that's worth monitoring, given that they have committed themselves, or at least publicly said that they would commit themselves to Derek Carr. Right now, that is still up in the air. Mike on YouTube says those teams got to be very wary of Abdul Carter's injury report. He may not be having any concern with it now, but what about down the road? Well, I mean, the people with medical expertise greater than mine have said that it's not the end of the world and it's a very minor situation. So that it was a situation that nobody was aware of before obviously adds a wrinkle to it. Should it be the reason that he tumbles down the draft boards? No, absolutely not. But I do think that due diligence has to be done at this point in time. I think that's completely fair, and it would be completely fair if it did impact this. So as you look at the number 1 overall pick, is Abdul Carter still worthy? I believe so, but if you have any kind of doubt, you would probably have a situation for the Titans, where quarterback already carries a greater amount of weight, and Cam Ward is certainly worthy of the number 1 overall pick, as you'll hear here in just a second. So the next question becomes, in the comment section on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and on Twitch, now that we are through the Combine series of primetime shows, or will be here in just a few minutes, who would you take with the number 1 overall pick? I'll ask you this question throughout the course of the next couple of months leading up, but who would you select with the number 1 overall draft pick? We will discuss at length together right after I tell you that the primetime show is made possible by the great people at the Ashton Real Estate Group of RE/MAX Advantage. GaryAshton.com is where you go for your dream address without the stress. The intel edge you need to succeed can be found at GaryAshton.com. And of course, by TrueMav Fitness in the Gulch, where your first workout is free. As a Middle Tennessee resident, no workout ever recycled or repeated. TrueMav has you covered. Who would you take with the number 1 overall draft pick? I think it's an interesting question to ask as we proceed moving forward, because even the narrative has shifted around Cam Ward more than Shedeur Sanders, I would say. And you'll probably see it ebb and flow leading up to the draft process. But first, it was, almost as bad a quarterback draft class as 2022. Now, Cam Ward, clearly and obviously worthy of the number 1 overall pick, or at least to hear the smart draft analysts tell it. And I do mean that. There are a lot of smart people saying that Cam Ward should be worthy of the number 1 overall pick, and yet there's still no clear consensus as to what the Titans will do. Nick says, if we have to stick and pick, I'd take Cam Ward. Jeffrey says Shedeur, as does Rishi at this point in time. Parker says Travis Hunter is a lockdown corner. I wouldn't call him that, but he's probably the best corner in this class. I don't think he's Pat Surtain, right? Pat Surtain just won the Defensive Player of the Year and is an excellent corner. I don't think Hunter's that, but we'll see. Mike Hobbs says he'd be more interested in Sanders. Lane says Hunter, quarterbacks are overvalued in drafts. This class seems like a classic example of that. All right. Well, Greg Cosell, we do a podcast each and every week. It's called The Install. And I was asking Greg about Abdul Carter first and foremost, and then I had the follow-up. Well, you'll hear it play out for yourself.
In which I imagine you would see him deployed in the league is very much like a Micah Parsons.
Yeah. Best prospect in the class to you?
See, I may.
We don't got to do a big board if you don't want to.
No, I may be in the minority, but I really like Cam Ward. So
okay.
I don't know how Mike Borgonzi or Brian Callahan sees him, but I really like Cam Ward. Now, I'm not. Carter is a big time prospect without question. But I'm a Cam Ward guy based on tape.
He's a quarterback, and as I've heard you talk about previously, I can't remember which podcast it was that I heard you speaking about Cam Ward, but you believe him to be worthy of the number 1 overall pick.
I do. And I
So that's just a preview of the conversation that you can check out via the podcast. Greg goes into great detail there, but that is the executive producer of NFL Films telling you, yeah, that dude's worthy of the number 1 overall draft pick. Don't get it twisted, and that's based on tape. And Greg gave a thorough explanation as to why that was in fact the case. So all that to say, if you ask me today, given the Abdul Carter situation, I would say Cam Ward too. My preference is still for them to trade, but if they have to stick and pick, I'm completely fine with Cam Ward. I think that he's going to be a successful football player. And I just, I like the attitude. I like the demeanor. I like the approach. I like the tools. I hope that he lands in the right spot to see all those things develop. Obviously, nobody can predict that, but if you made me stick and pick, I'd probably go Cam Ward. That's going to do it for us tonight. I know it's an abbreviated primetime show, but I've got a couple of different things that I got to do tonight, including keeping tabs on some things going on at the drills. So I appreciate you guys stopping by as always. I appreciate you hanging out here with me on primetime throughout the course of the week at the Combine. We're not done on the A to Z side of things or the radio side of things. We're doing the radio show tomorrow. Trevor Sikkema of Pro Football Focus is going to join us. We'll also have Danny Heifetz from The Ringer. Maybe we'll grab a few more people who are hanging out around here at the Indiana Convention Center, and we'll have more information for you as well. We'll also do the 615 Sessions podcast after we do the radio show tomorrow, and then I'll head on back to Nashville. By the way, we're speaking to Travis Hunter, we spoke to Travis Hunter today. We're speaking to Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders tomorrow, and we will have plenty of things to talk about there together. Have a great rest of your evening, and I will see you tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. on 104.5 The Zone.